Alright, what's good everybody? Tim also knows Yoshi McLeod here. And so, what I actually decided I wanted to do is I wanted to do a video where I take a look at the 12 legends from set 6 of Lorcana. I'm not going to pretend that I am like the end-all be-all of all knowledge in the game, but I want to at least look at them and give my opinions on each of them. So, here on Dreamborn, I do have all 12 of them to look at, and I'm going to go through them, I guess, in the order that the thing has them here, and we're gonna see our opinions of these. So let's start with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is a 2-cost uninkable sapphire card. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an item, you may play that item for free and it enters exerted. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your deck. Here's my thing with this card. I think this card might be actually insane. So, here is the thought process. If you're playing something like Ruby Sapphire items, you play him on 2. On 3, you ink a card, so boom, that'll trigger him. Then you play your Fishbone Quill, activate, that'll trigger him. That's 2 chances for him to trigger right there. And then every turn after that, so long as your Fishbone isn't answered, you get 2 shots as Oswald triggering before you do anything on that turn. God forbid you hit double Oswald. This card looks like this might be a problem because I feel like this card has so much upside. He should be able to generate you so much value. Because one big thing the item decks will do is they play cards that'll generate them extra value. Now, notably, the item decks uninkable slots are really, really precious. Like, God, they play so many uninkables. I've seen people playing upwards of 20 uninkables in their decks. And notably, this is very greedy. This is very dangerous. But I do think that this card definitely will show up in some meta decks. I don't know how good he is. I'm willing to be wrong on this, but this card I feel like might be insane. Next one we're looking at is Tiana. Whenever a character of yours is challenged while this character is exerted, the challenging character gets -3 attack unless their player pays 3. She is a 3-cost uninkable in Amber. I think this card is really good. I think Tiana, she gives decks a very good way to protect their aggressive plays. And she basically taxes your opponent's ink. So the way I look at this card is if you play her on 3 and then on 4 you can quest with her for 2, quest out your board, you now make your opponent's trades really bad. So especially if your opponent's playing a deck where they can play lots of rush characters, well, these rush characters, with the exception of things like a Madam Mim, a Maui, they get made really weak. Like, unless you have the extra 3 to spend, Maui can't get through Tiana. So that's actually a big deal. This creates a situation where your opponent needs to figure out ways to deal with this card. Actually, no, excuse me, Maui can deal with... No, I'm wrong. She protects herself whenever a character of yours is challenged. I thought she was other characters. Wow. This card's better than I initially thought. So I think this card's actually really good. Now, the problem is aggro good enough? Because I think that's the only place where she has a home. She has a home in aggro shells, helping keep their extended plays from getting punished. But the problem is, does aggro have a place in the meta? Aggro's been in a really weird spot where even though they keep getting good tools, the answers to aggro are just really good. Like, let's keep it honest. She dies to Medusa. She dies to a lot of cards. She dies to Medusa. She dies to Sisu. God, like, a lot of cards that are in the Ruby Sapphire deck, she actually just gets shut down by a lot of their main plays. So this card's a little bit scary. I think she's got potential. I don't know how good she'll actually be. Yzma, okay, I'm not gonna lie, that's a sick looking, this is sick looking enchanted. Yzma, Conniving Chemist, 4-drop inkable. She's a 3/3, tap it. If you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. I'm not gonna say she's unplayable. but I think she's in the wrong color for this type of effect. Purple has a lot of ways to draw cards, with the best thing to do in purple being the bounce package. I don't see this card having a home in any deck. I think this is unfortunately a really weak legend, and it doesn't do anything that purple wants. The idea that if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, she'll draw you back up to 3 is really good. If this card was Ruby. As a Ruby card, I think this card would be insane. As a Steel card even, I think this card would be insane. But because it's in purple, a color that has Friends on the Other Side, that has Merlin Rabbit, that shoot, if you still want to play it, has 3-drop Maleficent. This color isn't hurting for cards. It has Queen's Castle, it has Library, it's playing Magic Broomsticks, which will redraw itself. It's playing Trenabog's Followers. This is not a color that's looking for this effect. So I don't think this card is going to be too good. Simba, Pride Protector, 5-drop uninkable, 4/4, shift 3. At the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you may ready your other characters. This card feels interesting because it's a shift 3, so it actually curves very nicely with Bodyguard Simba. You can go Bodyguard Simba on 2, shifting him on 3. Problem is, a lot of times when you play Bodyguard Simba, you're playing Bodyguard Simba so that it dies protecting your board. But you can also go, if your Bodyguard Simba lives, you shift here, quest with this, and it accomplishes essentially the same goal as Bodyguard Simba every turn after that. Where you can quest with your board, play him, and then he restands your board, protecting everything. I don't know if this is a necessary card, but I can see the vision of it a little bit. I feel like this is a card that doesn't have a home, which is problematic for cards like this. If a legend doesn't have a home, I think it just doesn't see play. And I feel like this is a legend that just won't see play. Hades, Strong Arm, 5 cost, uninkable, 4/3, quest for 1. Tap 3 and pay 3. Banish one of your characters, banish chosen character. I think this is a pretty mid uninkable. This is a legend, and I feel like for a legend, you want a higher impact card. The problem with this card is Hades needs to survive. Hades needs to survive, and then on the following turn, you untap with him and have another character. And then you have to put 3 ink into him to use his effect. So he's an uninkable, has to survive a turn, has to have another character to combo him with, but then he also is targeted removal. I think this card has too many asks to be playable. That is my opinion of this. If I am wrong on this, I'll accept that, but I think this card is kinda... This is a mediocre card. I feel like this is a mediocre card, and I'll stand by that. Alright, number 6, we have Baymax, Armored Companion, 5-drop inkable, 2/6, good body size, dies to Medusa unfortunately, quest for 2. When you play this character and whenever he quests, you may remove up to 2 damage counters from another chosen character, gain 1 lore for each damage removed this way. If we can get to a point where we play a Heals Matters deck, this card probably has a home. This seems like it's really good in a Healing Matters deck. The problem is there a Healing Matters deck? I don't know if the answer to that is yes. I feel like the answer to that is no right now. I've seen a vision. This card could be really good. This card could be really interesting. It does kind of combo with things like, I think it's Grand Pabby from set 3, that when you heal you gain lore, but I don't know if this card's worth it. I don't know. This card might not have a home. Maybe this card feels like a build around. So I might be missing the vision. I might be missing the line. If you can find a good way to build around this card might be playable, but I don't think it's good enough. Hercules, Baby Demigod, 6-drop uninkable, 6/3 stat line, 2 quest for 2, ward, pay 3, deal 1 damage to chosen damaged character. I hate this card. Why is this a legend? Oh my god, I've never read this card before. This card actually irritates me. I don't see this card being playable. You're paying 3 ink for 3 damage. for 1 damage, excuse me. And it's not targeted 1 damage, it's 1 damage to something that's already damaged. On a 6/3 body. This card... The problem with this card is this is a card that wants you to play it and then not do anything with it. But then the problem is if you have ways to throw chip damage at things, you can use this to finish certain cards off. It can give you that extra point of damage you need sometimes. But why would you want this effect on a 6-drop? Why would you want this on a 6-drop uninkable? Why would you want this on a 6-drop uninkable legend? This is another case where I'm willing to be wrong with this. This feels like an unplayable legend. That's my opinion. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why in the comments. I'll gladly accept if someone sees the vision that I don't. Alright, next we got Jasmine, Royal Commodore. Did I spell that? Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. She's a 6-drop inkable, 5/5, quest for 2, shift 5. So when you shift her, you only get a 1-cost discount. That's pretty mid already. Whenever you play this character, if you use her shift a player, return all other exerted characters to their player's hand. That's actually kind of sweet. Oh, God. I could totally see that being like something that's really sick. The problem is, 1, you need another Jasmine, meaning you have to telegraph that this play is available to you. 2, you need to put yourself in a situation. Damn. I feel like this card's really close to being playable. But this also feels like a card that won't have a home anywhere. I don't know what 4-drop Jasmines we have, but most of the Jasmines I think of aren't super great. This is a card that's context is what Jasmines are with her, and I don't know if she's playable. I don't know if she's good. And the problem is, Green has 2 strong legends already in Diablo and Ursula, Deceiver of All, that, granted, she's not competing for spots with them, but she's what I'm comparing, they're what I'm comparing to when I look at a card like this. I don't think this card has a home. I think this card's just... It's unfortunate with a lot of legends, I feel like there are cards that just don't have a place in current decks and current metas. That's sad. Alright, Maui, Half Shark. 6-drop, inkable, 7/5, evasive. Quest for 1. Whenever this character challenges another character, you may return an action from your discard to your hand. Whenever you play an action, gain 1 lore. I've been looking at the Actions Matters cards, and I think this card is sick. This is a really good Actions Matters card. This card, especially when you combine it with the Red Robin Hood legend that we got last set. Not last set, I think it was the set before. No, it was last set, wasn't it? Jeez. This card's sick. I think this card has a home somewhere. This card's a good build around. Maybe, Ruby Emerald Actions is really a deck now. I hope it is. This card seems super sick. The problem is this card also feels like a build around, but this might be a good enough build around, especially if you use some of the Ruby control actions, use this card to rebuy them. Imagine this Maui hits into, you like Dragonfire something, this Maui hits into something, you rebuy your Dragonfire, or God, you use your Maui, you hit into something, you use it to rebuy like a We Don't Talk About Bruno, or a Sudden Chill, or a Hypnotize. This card feels like it has a lot. This card feels like a good in an already popular build around. I think this card has a home. I wouldn't put this as my number 1 legend from this set. I think my number 1 legend from this set is Oswald. But this card feels like it has a lot going for it. Alright, next, Wreck-It Ralph, Ham Hands. 6 cost, uninkable, 4/4, quest for 3. Whenever this character quests, you may banish an item or location to gain 2 lore. Wow, this doesn't say your item or location, so that's interesting. My problem is, this is a 6 cost uninkable, and so my question is this card worth the uninkable slot? Unfortunately, the moment a card is uninkable, a lot of uninkables, their play rate or their playability drops because there is a high bar for uninkable cards. And 6 mana to play this, is this worth it? Is my question. Granted, he quests for 3. He has a 4/4 body, which is respectable. He dodges Medusa. He also, I believe, dodges World's Greatest Criminal Mind, although that card doesn't see a lot of play right now. My question is his effect worth it? Because you have to have him on board, and essentially he's questing for 5 when he's questing. Because he quests for 3, shoots something out of the game, and gets you 2 more. He answers locations. The problem is he needs to survive a turn. And against certain decks, I don't know how easy that is. This card could have potential. Probably this isn't a good enough card that you run like 4 of it, but maybe this is like a card you run like a 2 of it for certain matchups or certain situations. Alright, next we have Genie, Wonderful Trickster, 7-drop, Inkable, 4/7. Quest for 2, shift for 5. Whenever you play a card, draw a card. At the end of your turn, put all cards in your hand at the bottom of your deck in any order. What? What? God damn. Why? Oh. This card seems so good until I read that last line of text. Man, when you play a card, draw a card. That seems so good. And then it went and said, at the end of your turn, put all cards in your hand at the bottom of your deck. I think this card is so bad. And if you have a different point of view than me, go ahead. I'm willing to listen to people. But here's why I say that I think this card is awful. This is a game where hand advantage will win you matchups. Certain decks are strong because they keep impactful cards in their hand by drawing constantly. I'm talking about decks like Ruby Amethyst. That deck just constant draw of cards. You're never running out of cards in your hand. A lot of decks in this game did not work because they did not have good draw power. So for example, Emerald Steel wasn't a really strong deck until they got Diablo, a way to get them constant cards in hand. Diablo made that deck insane. Blue Steel, Sapphire Steel, and Sapphire Ruby. These are color combos that either didn't work or barely worked in like set 1 until they got Flavisham and suddenly they could run the item package. In sets 3 and 4, they got even better because they got even more cards to help them along with that. Running out of cards in hand a lot of times is a death sentence. And you play this and it says, hey, goodbye, willingly say goodbye to your hand. Unless you're in a I'm sorry, this card is killing me. God, I had an allergic reaction to this card. Oh God, I'm coughing. I don't know. Maybe I'm being slightly hyperbolic, and I'll openly admit that. I don't see the vision for this card. This card feels very counterintuitive to how decks want to play this game to me. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some cool idea with this that I'm missing. But this card scares me in a way that I don't think this card sees play. This makes me feel bad. A lot of these legends I don't feel good about. Last legend, John Silver. 8-drop, Inkable, 6/6, quest for 2. He's a shift 5, has resist 2. At the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to each opposing ready character. It's interesting. This forces your opponent to go sideways with their cards, and when they play stuff, if they play things that are too weak, they just die immediately. Yeah, don't just sit there. This forces your opponent to interact. This is it. I actually like this card a lot. My problem is I don't know where he comes in, because he punishes cards that try to sit back and just occur value. All these ward characters that don't like going sideways, I feel like this is a card to answer them. The problem I have with it is this is an 8-drop. At that point, if you haven't already answered these cards, you probably lost the game already. But at the same time, John Silver, he shifts for 5, but even on 5, is that worth it? And what John Silver are you shifting with? I know this actually released a lot more John Silvers, but my point being, I don't know if this card has a home. I think this card costs too much for the effect it's trying to bring. The effect it's trying to bring, I think, is good, but I just don't think that I don't think it's properly costed for what it's trying to do. This is a card you'd want to see on, like, maybe like if they lowered its stats and made it like a 5 shift for 3, maybe. I don't know. So off the top of the head, I think the best legends from this set are easily Oswald and Maui. I think these two are very much the best legends from the set. I think Tiana has some uses. I think Tiana could be potentially very good. I think Simba is interesting. I don't know if he's actually good. Yuzuma I feel like is unplayable. Hades I feel like is unplayable. Baymax feels like a build around. I don't know if there's enough there though. I feel like Hercules is unplayable. I feel like Genie is unplayable. John Silver and Wreck-It Ralph both seem interesting, but I don't know if they're good enough. And Jasmine seems like, I don't know if the context is there to make Jasmine good. This is my opinion. Once again, if you don't agree with my opinions, that's fine. Actually, I would actually love to hear your contrasting opinions to mine in the comments, because I don't proclaim to know everything. I don't proclaim to be an expert on everything. I would love to hear other opinions and why people think I might be wrong, or other points of view that maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm missing some good context that will make some of these other cards playable. But right now, if I crack a legend and it's not Maui or Oswald, I'd probably be pissed. Alright, but that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment, leave me a like, and I'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.